Welcome back, fellow gamers. I have for you today my deck tech for Yidris, the Maelstrom Wanderer. This weekend or a few days ago, I posted my anti-deck tech for Yidris, and I had promised people that I would actually make a deck tech, and I did an anti-deck tech first, and it kind of got a few Yidris players, I guess, not happy with me. Because as one person mentioned, that I essentially invalidated his whole deck. But in my mind, it was to show also a Yidris player where he might be a bit weaker or where she could bolster up their deck to make it more resilient against these types of threats. So it's kind of a two-way street, right? It gives people ideas on how to beat it, but it also shows Yidris players on where they might need to work on their deck and make it stronger. So with this video, as with all my deck techs, I don't give you every single card because that would just be boring. I did that for Leovold, and really it was an interesting video for me. I like watching it, but I like to give you the ideas, and then after that you fill it out, make your deck your own and not make it some random dude on the internet. And I think that that's really something that you guys have enjoyed. My deck techs in the past have done pretty well. So let's just jump right into it since I'm rambling. So Yidris cascades, or he gives us your spells you're casting cascade when he deals combat damage. So he needs to attack. He's going to be like a Voltron style commander, but he needs to get through his attacks. So a card like Whisper Silk Cloak and the likes with boots, these cards give him evasion, and then he can just attack right in and do that. And it's important to note, if you have an instance of like double strike and he does damage twice, well, the cascade triggers actually 2 times. The spells gain cascade twice, and if you attack multiple times on a turn, so by cards like Aggravated Assault, Seize the Day, World at War, and Relentless Assault are really good at giving up multiple attacks. So if you do have double strike, you're casting one spell and poof, it's going off like crazy. And yes, woof is the thing I would say if I was getting hit by that many spells over and over again. But not only that, you're also probably going to win the game just by commander damage. But that's the thing, you need to be able to get your attacks through. And if somebody plays a Maze of Ith, well, they're going to hose your attack for that turn. Even if you have multiple attacks, that creature's not dealing combat damage this turn. So you can have unlimited attacks, but you're not going to be able to get through. So land removal, I know it's shunned upon in a lot of play groups, but it's just you have to. Because a Maze of Ith and then a copied Maze of Ith will really put you in deep trouble. It'll put you in deep trouble. So Strip Mine, Wasteland, and other things that target lands are probably like Sinkhole are where you want to go. And yeah, we're going to get this right off the bat. Obviously, Paradox Engine in this deck is probably like the place if Paradox Engine wasn't to slot into any other deck but this one, this would be the deck to slot it in. But if you're going to be casting a lot of spells, you're definitely going to want to be able to draw into other spells. So refill your hand and make sure you have stuff to take advantage of Yidris' ability. So Consecrated Sphinx, obviously that's a great card to have, but you have Reforge the Soul, Wheel of Fortune, Wheel of Fate, and even a card like Notion Thief, which takes advantage of other people drawing cards, will help like surprise and delight yourself while tormenting the other players. An important ability as well, though, is deck manipulation. So knowing what's on top of your deck, there's nothing worse than, let's say, casting a card that's 5 mana, and then the first card you flip over is a 6 that you would have needed. It's like, if only you would have known. Well, obviously, Sensei's Divining Top is the go-to card for deck manipulation. But there's also Sylvan Library, which, in my mind, is such a powerhouse of a card. And not just my mind, you can tell by the price tag. It's come down, thankfully, with its releases over the years, whether it's Commander Arsenal or I think it was Eternal Masters. I'm not sure if it was Eternal Masters or Conspiracy. I know I'm going to have the card listed right there, so it's going to be quite obvious, but I'm talking into a camera right now, so... But let's not forget about Skrill Rack. And one that I always personally like is Thassa, or Thassa, God of the Sea. Getting that free scry each turn at the start of your turn is pretty good. Like, I like to set myself up beforehand, not have to waste some extra mana. But one card that I don't really see mentioned all that often is Limdul's Vault. So the thing about that is that if you don't like, so if you top and you don't like the 3 cards, and you try maybe Sylvan Library, and you're trying to do something, you're trying to make something work, but the top cards really don't help you, and they're not cards you want to see just yet, or that maybe they've passed their usefulness. Well, this card will let you kind of go through till you do find cards that you do want, and then you'll be able to set yourself up pretty good for that. I really suggest it. It's one of the cards that I run in this deck, and I can't get enough of it. It's not once have I played this card and been like, I could have done something better this turn. Consuming Arboration is a solid card. Having people mill their deck and possibly mill out if you're going to be casting a lot each turn. But in order for you to cast a lot each turn, you're going to need to find a way to untap your lands. And a good way of doing that is with Feast and Famine, the Sword of Feast and Famine. Actually, all the swords are pretty useful. I enjoy the swords. But the Sword of Feast and Famine is really good in this deck, especially if you are attacking multiple times. So like that, each wave of attacks, you're untapping your lands, you're able to cast more. Cascading is triggering more frequently because of the more damage that you're doing. It's really awesome. But what's the one thing you want to do after a really productive turn? So you've attacked a few times, you've casted a bunch of spells. Well, I can think of one card that you'd really want to play, and that's Mind Desire. Like Mind Desire, the fact that it has Storm and you're able to just, you're going to end up probably going through your own deck, but this will put the cherry on top of that game-ending turn, so like that you can really finish off your opponents, whether that's by kill spells, damage, or maybe even an alternate win condition. If you see that this is something that happens more often, where you're able to go through your whole deck because you're cascading so much, things are just going on in the battlefield, they're resolving. Well, maybe that's where Laboratory Maniac fits in. If that's how you see your deck rolls so well, you're flying through everything, and there's been a few answers that have just stopped you at a certain spot where you couldn't finish them off with lethal, or something's happening that's not allowing you to do your main win condition. This here is a great backup win condition. But speaking of backup win conditions, Aetherflux Reservoir really helps you gain life, but then after that you're able to deal 50 damage to a player. And if you've got enough casting triggers that have happened during the game, 50 damage in a duel match, that's going to be clutch. Multiplayer, you're taking out one guy, and I don't know. I don't think it's a good multiplayer card, but it's definitely a good duel card, so one-on-one. And I guess the last card I'm going to highlight is Garruk, whatever. I call him Garruk. I know it's pronounced Garruk. I like Garruk better, even though it's wrong. It's a card that hits the other board while keeping yours intact. So while I do slot in a card like Damnation, I prefer in Garruk's Wake simply because it's able to hit all their boards, but it also has a 9 converted mana cost, which some would say, that's too much. But it allows you to pretty much trigger that Cascade ability for whatever's in your deck. So there you have it. Those are some of the cards that I slot into my Yidris deck. I would love to know what you slot in that I didn't mention, or what you think my deck tech is missing. Let me know in the comments below. In the meantime, though, you can check out some of my other videos right here. If you'd like to subscribe, you can do that right here. It helps the channel out, no doubt, but it also lets you know when we go live for our live streams or when we talk Magic the Gathering. I'd like to thank you for making me a part of your day, and until next time, good gaming.